Hello, I'm Jenny Fern, and welcome to my library. Today I want to talk to you about reading and mental health. So I'm going to generally discuss the topic and give you some tips on how you can try to take care of yourself while reading. The cats are very active right now, so if you hear a lot of jingling in the background, those are my two boys. I'm coming at this from the perspective of somebody who does this as a hobby. I am not relying on reading for my livelihood like somebody who might be in school for reading or who reads for their job. So it's a general disclaimer that you might have to restructure some of these tips if you do rely on reading for your life, for your money. So this first section is going to be about how to take care of yourself if you're reading some really heavy topics and it's starting to get to you. So this year, I got really interested in the US prison system. So I started reading like these books on that topic, which understandably is quite grim. It's from like the prisoner's perspective, so it's not a great time. I have learned firsthand for myself how to try to take care of myself while reading about really heavy, dark, sad topics. I feel like when I was younger, we had like these books that we had to read during summer for like AP English or something like that. I would read the book like all day for like 3 days, and then I would just like spiral. It's like be constantly in the mood of whatever dark subject this book was about. One time I had to read Frankenstein and I got into this really grim headspace. First of all, going into a book, if you know it's going to be heavy, acknowledge to yourself that you might need to take some breaks. Space it out a bit. So you're going to want to sprinkle in some lighter activities while you're reading darker work. You could watch some cartoons, take some breaks to play with your dog. You could even have another book on the side, like a fun middle grade or something like that. That's one of the reasons why I really like to be reading multiple books at the same time and have them be varying levels of like seriousness. What I'd say you're not going to want to do. You're not going to want to down like a really depressing book in one day, like 12 hours straight of some depressing book, and then like go straight from that to like a history podcast about World War II. There also can be some books that you're not expecting are going to be very negative or overall dreary that might have content in it that is triggering to you. So if you're somebody who likes to go into books blind, this might happen. It happened to me, I'll tell you. I read My Absolute Darling. I thought the cover on this book was so beautiful, and it was really popular at the time. I saw it at the thrift store and I was like, I'm gonna grab this. This looks beautiful. And my God, this is like one of the most dark books, super triggering. It's about abuse. It was really upsetting and I had not a good time. And for some reason I didn't put the book down, but that's what I'm going to recommend to you. I'm going to recommend that if you come across something that is upsetting to you, just put it down. That's where it's going to be tricky if like you're in school or like you have to read for your job. You might not be able to do that. And I'm not the person to give you advice on how to deal with that because it could be a problem. There's no pressure to have to read books that deal with heavier topics or that are darker. You can read what you want if you're a free person not in school. Life is going to give you ups and downs, and if you don't choose to take more downs into your life, that's fine. I don't judge you for that. This section is about taking care of things in your life outside of reading. If you're going to be reading for a long time, this is a gentle reminder to also take care of things in your life that need to be taken care of. That includes yourself, your home, your animals, your responsibilities. You don't want to take something that's supposed to be fun and have it ruin your life. Take the time to do your laundry, to do your dishes. Don't just read all day and be a little goblin. For example, I might want to take a few days off and spend them reading. Or if I have like a holiday break, I might be reading most of that time. I know for me, I can have a hard time remembering to eat meals if I'm in that kind of mode. So I might want to set an alarm for myself to remind myself to eat. Also, to maintain like a good sleeping schedule, that can also be hard. There's more to life and living life than reading books. Take breaks, sip some tea, and pet your cat. Or put the book down, water your houseplants. Occasionally detach yourself from reading, check in with the real world, make sure that everything is okay and getting done. Somewhat in line with that section, this is going to be about giving time to your thoughts and your own brain. Something that I struggle with is trying to fill all of the silences with something. So that could be books, audiobooks, podcasts, short videos, YouTube videos, TV shows, media in general, so that I don't have to be in silence and think. But I think it's good to remember that reading, although it's usually thought of in a positive light, can be used as a constant distraction. I think you should give yourself permission to not make progress in your audiobook today. Sit with your thoughts for like 15 minutes maybe. This morning, I went out into my garden and I didn't have an audiobook going. And I just listened to the birds, watched a bunch of little bugs. The bugs were in peak bug condition. It was great. Maybe if you're gonna go out for a walk, you, again, don't have to listen to a podcast, don't have to listen to music. Just, be with yourself for a little bit. Now I want to talk about some outside influences and comparing yourself to others. I know that I wanted to be able to connect with others with my reading. That's why I have this channel. But if you're frequently consuming what other people put out there for book-related content, it can be easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to those people. So you might be looking at, okay, they read 12 books this month. How many books did I read this month? I read 2. You can start feeling really bad about yourself, thinking really negatively about yourself. You look at what they're reading and you think like, wow, they're reading things that are so much more intellectual than what I'm reading. And that mindset can get really unproductive and unhealthy. So if you start to feel that way, try to take a break from those constant inputs. Think about, why do you read? If I think about why I read, there's a handful of reasons. One of them is learning. One of them is having something that is just a really enjoyable, entertaining hobby, a way to pass the time. And one of the most important reasons is it helps me fall asleep. That's my secret. For me, my main reasons don't have to do with other people. So right away I can think, okay, what other people are doing, it doesn't impact me. I'm in my own lane, doing my own thing, reading my own books for myself. You might have reasons that have to do with other people, like you like talking to other people about books. That's fine. But if you find that some of your main reasons for reading are to be competitive with other people, take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing. You can also be competitive with like your past self. I know some people can struggle with, they were like a voracious reader when they were in middle school. And that ain't me. Like I was just not reading, honestly. Didn't read that much when I was a kid. I know that some people can look at that and then they can get really down on themselves when they're an adult and they're not living up to their childhood standards of reading. But even after you take a critical look at yourself, try to get your goals in alignment with yourself, if even after that you're struggling with some people's content making you feel bad about yourself, straight up unfollow them. I was following somebody a few years ago who made these beautifully constructed videos about like sustainable living. So the subject was something I was really interested in. The videos were gorgeous, they were well constructed, but there was something about it that made me really unhappy. and I would leave each video being unsatisfied with my own life. And even if there were things that I was really happy with in my life, that if I were in her shoes, I would be uncomfortable with the way that she was living, I still couldn't stop myself. Like, it was a problem with myself in comparing myself to this young woman. So I had to unfollow her for my own health. Not her problem at all. It's on my side. She wasn't doing anything wrong. But if you find you're having that kind of unhealthy relationship with somebody on the internet, just stop. Just don't engage. Don't watch. It can be hard. Try to give yourself that permission to not torture yourself like that. Now let's talk about FOMO, or fear of missing out, when it comes to reading on social media. I'd be wary if you're overly concerned with staying up to date on the current reading trends. I understand the feeling of wanting to be on trend for social media. You want to be on the trend wave for the algorithm to help your page grow. But you can end up losing a sense of what do you really want to be reading right now if you're overly caught up with what's popular. You might end up falling into wanting to really love or really hate the book that's most popular right now, so that you can put in your 2 cents about it and ride the high of having a lot of people agree or disagree with you. I get pretty uncomfortable seeing everybody talk about the same book all at once. What are we all rushing for? What are we doing? The book exists. It's gonna be there. You can read it at your own pace. We don't all have to be talking about it at the same time. You may be able to hear the little crunching and munching of my doggy. So like, if I hear something that I am intrigued about, or if somebody takes like a really good photo of a book and I'm like, that looks great, then I'll put it onto a list of something to look into later. I'm not gonna rush to read it right away. It is okay to not be on trend. You're not behind. You're just doing your own thing. I don't know how to fix the algorithm impact on this, but I read a lot of books that were just like popular. I didn't really know that I was reading them because people just continually talked about them, which I guess is the marketing aspect of this whole thing. They weren't really like my thing. It helped me discover what my interests really were, and now I'm in a place where I'm a lot more comfortable with what I want to read and, you know, what I'm really interested in. But I read a lot of stuff that I didn't like. A lot of it was because of BookTube, honestly. Lastly, I want to talk to you about being kind to yourself if you're already feeling really down and you're disappointed in how it is affecting your reading. So I've been in this situation before. I think I've mentioned it before as well. The first month or two after the shelter in place from COVID, I really couldn't find it within myself to focus and read. You'd think it would be like the perfect time to like do a bunch of reading. I just couldn't. I didn't have it within me. I was so distracted with what was happening in the world, really not in a great place mentally. I couldn't read, and that's okay. It's okay to have periods in your life when you're not as capable as you usually would be or as you want to be on focusing on reading a book. This is another reason why it's so important not to compare yourself to even your past self. You might not be as capable in this moment to read as you were before, when you were in a different mental state. And that's okay. So try to look with compassion at yourself and what you need in that moment. If you need to read more slowly, read less complicated language, read less in general, take a break altogether, and you can still call yourself a reader. What I feel like all of this boils down to is to be compassionate with yourself. Check in with yourself. Love yourself. Have a good time reading. That's what a lot of us are here for. I won't say everyone. Try to have some fun. That's it. The book that I see staring back up at me is like one of the darkest, most grim books to like absolutely not read if you're having like a hard mental health time. and that's Beautiful Darkness, which I did not realize. Here, I'll show it to you. I did not realize that this book was gonna be so disgusting, genuinely upsetting. This is a nasty, nasty book, but it is beautiful. Like, it's correct in that it's Beautiful Darkness, but boy, I do not recommend this book to anybody who's having a hard time right now. Does that count as a recommendation? That's like an anti-recommendation, but I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. If you would like to make my day, leave your own request for a specific book recommendation in the comments, and I will get back to you. Goodbye.